Hello, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to join this year's IATI Community Exchange. My name is John Dearborn, and today I'll be sharing how the World Bank's Global Food and Nutrition Security Dashboard uses IATI data to track food security financing and provide clear visibility during emerging food security crises. I'll walk through why the dashboard was created, how we use IATI data to understand financing in real time, including in relation to the World Bank's preparedness plans for food and nutrition security, and how this supports countries and partners as they respond to deteriorating food security conditions. The dashboard was launched in 2022 under the Global Alliance for Food Security, or GAFS, at a moment when countries were dealing with overlapping shocks: the global food price spike, the impacts of COVID-19, conflict, and climate-related disruptions. A lot of information on food security risks did exist, but it was scattered across different systems, updated inconsistently, and difficult for governments to use when decisions had to be made quickly. There was also a broader challenge. Coordination between humanitarian and development partners on food security financing was limited, and there was no central place to view the full picture. Countries needed a single interactive platform that could bring together early warning, food security indicators, and financing information. And importantly, there was very little visibility on current financial flows to food security crises. The dashboard was able to address these gaps to give governments and partners a coherent, up-to-date view of where risks were emerging, how financing was moving, and where coordination could be strengthened. Today, the dashboard brings multiple data streams together into a single integrated platform. Users can explore information on early warning indicators, market and price trends, food security assessments, the number and scale of people in need, and financing flows. Because the platform updates continuously, it gives all stakeholders a consistent, up-to-date view of emerging conditions and responses. What this really provides is a shared understanding of where food security risks are increasing and what country-level needs are emerging. It helps connect what governments are seeing on the ground to global-level policy decisions and supports more coordinated responses. By combining evidence from warning systems, markets, assessments, needs data, and financing, the dashboard strengthens how humanitarian and development partners align their policy and financing decisions across the board. These screenshots come from the action section of the dashboard, which is where users can explore financing in more detail. We use OSHA's financial tracking service to give a clear view of humanitarian financing, and for development financing, IATI is our primary source. Because IATI provides activity level detail, we can break funding down by donor, by sector, and over time. That means users can quickly see where commitments and spending are happening, how development flows compare to humanitarian needs, and whether certain sectors are scaling up. I won't go into the individual country examples seen here, but the main point is that IATI allows us to slice financing in a way that gives governments and partners meaningful operational visibility. In order to make IATI usable for food security monitoring, we applied a focused methodology. We start by identifying the activities most relevant to food and nutrition security using a combination of CRS sector codes, narrative references to food security or food insecurity, and a cutoff of 2021 onwards so that the data reflects the current financing landscape. Once we identify those activities, we process the underlying transactions so that the financial information is accurate and comparable. That includes allocated funding proportionally when activities span multiple sectors or multiple countries, deduplicating flows so the same money isn't counted more than once as it moves through different organizations, and applying humanitarian flags where relevant. All of this runs through an automated nightly pipeline, so the dashboard always reflects clean, up-to-date data. Out of roughly 930,000 activities published to IATI, around 17,000 activities and 195,000 transactions relate in some way to food nutrition security. After applying the methodology, about 7,500 activities and 54,000 transactions remain in scope based on the DAC sector codes. And after processing and deduplication, we ultimately work with roughly 6,000 activities and 12,000 transactions classified as new commitments on the dashboard. I focused on how we use IATI data to understand the broader food security financing landscape, what's being funded, by whom, and in which sectors. That gives us the big picture. But when countries face rapidly worsening conditions, they need more than situational awareness. They need a way to act quickly and in a coordinated manner. In some crises, the challenge isn't a lack of early warning, it's that responses can be delayed, fragmented, or uneven across sectors. Even when risks are well understood, there's often a gap between recognizing the problem and mobilizing an organized response. The World Bank's preparedness plans for food and nutrition security crises, or for short, preparedness plans, are designed to close that gap. They give governments a structured way to prepare for rising food security risks with clearly defined actions, responsible ministries, and pre-agreed triggers for when a response should escalate. In other words, they add value by clarifying what needs to happen, who needs to do it, and when, so countries don't lose critical time once conditions start to deteriorate. On the dashboard, we track where each country stands in developing its preparedness plan, and we display when a plan has been formally triggered by a country. This provides a global view of progress, a country-level view of each plan's status, and a clear indication of when a government has decided that heightened attention and resource mobilization are needed. This is exactly where IATI becomes very important. Once a plan is triggered, governments need more than general information about food security financing. They need to know who is responding, what resources are being mobilized, and how those efforts line up with the priorities laid out in the preparedness plan. That requires being able to track development financing in a way that is clear, timely, and unambiguous. This is the purpose behind linking IATI activities to preparedness plans. When a plan is triggered, the question shifts from what is the financing landscape to which activities are actually part of the response. Governments want visibility on which partners are stepping up, how quickly resources are moving, and whether the response is aligned with what the plan calls for. To make that possible, we need more than a broader food security methodology. We needed publishers to create a direct, explicit connection between an IATI activity and the plan itself. That's what allows the dashboard to display response activities clearly once a plan is triggered, and it's what gives governments and partners the ability to coordinate around real-time information. The most reliable way to establish that link is through the IATI tag field. The standard now includes a dedicated vocabulary for preparedness plans, and publishers can associate an activity with a plan by using vocabulary 5 and the two-letter ISO country code. For example, a tag with vocabulary 5 and code SO indicates that the activity relates to the Somalia preparedness plan. This is a clean, machine-readable signal that allows the dashboard to immediately recognize an activity as part of a triggered plan. It avoids guesswork and ensures that what appears in the dashboard reflects what publishers are explicitly reporting. Publishers can add free text context as well, in titles, descriptions, or transaction descriptions, and including hashtags like hashtag GAFS-SO or hashtag GAFS-HT makes these references easy to find. But the tag is the anchor that allows us to track response financing consistently and reliably. Once publishers use the tag, everything on our side becomes immediate. The dashboard can automatically recognize that an activity is part of the response and service the associated financing in near real time. As soon as a publisher includes the preparedness plan tag, the activity appears in the country's response view and becomes part of the running picture of who is funding what. This gives governments much clearer visibility into which development partners are engaging and how resources are moving. It also improves coordination by reducing duplication and helping partners understand how their efforts align with others. It strengthens accountability by making the connection between a triggered plan and the financing that flows completely transparent. In short, tagging turns the dashboard from a general monitoring tool into a practical, operational resource during food security crises. Bringing all of this together, the dashboard depends on the transparency and structure that IATI publishers provide. The broader food security methodology helps us understand where financing is flowing, and the preparedness plan tagging allows us to show in real time how partners are responding once a plan is triggered. That combination gives countries and development partners a clearer, more accurate picture of what's happening during fast-moving food security crises. We're grateful for the work that the IATI community does to help keep this data open, consistent, and usable. It's what makes this level of visibility possible, and it directly supports governments trying to respond quickly when the risks start to rise. If you'd like to explore the dashboard or learn more about the preparedness plans, you can visit the platform at gafs.info. Thank you again for the opportunity to share this work.